If you're watching this, you probably spent the last few months or even years with an invisible cap on your earnings without even realizing it. And it's because you've internalized specific patterns and habits into your speech that have been holding you back from your upbringing, from societal conditioning, and even from specific people within your niche or industry. When you understand and break through the patterns and habits that are holding back your communication, then you can level the playing field with the big players in your area of expertise. And the things that you're doing right now are actively limiting the amount of persuasive influence and credibility that you can build with the people that you speak to, which directly affects how much money that you make. Because if you don't know how to influence and connect with people, they'll never, one, buy from you, two, want your stuff, or three, even trust you in the first place. So in this video, I'm going to break down the one big thing that's holding back your speech and capping your income, and give you practical steps that you can take to break through that cap. There's so many different parts to communication that you can learn and improve on. But if there was one specific thing from my expertise that I could get you to focus on so that you can uncap your income, it would be this one thing. And before we get into the details, I want you to understand why this is so important, because if you don't understand why it's so important, you'll never understand the weight behind it and you won't feel the need or the urgency to actually make these changes. You see, this is something that a lot of people who tend to be a little bit more introverted tend to struggle with, and that is people like me. When I was growing up, I was a little bit more of the textbook introvert, and this ended up influencing the way that I communicated with people because I was afraid of conflict. I would end up speaking in ways that diminished the impact that my words had. And I didn't realize that this ended up bleeding into multiple different areas of my life, in school, with friends, with business eventually later on. And I learned this really definitively when I started my first online business. I was on sales calls and I was taking them, and I was wondering why nobody believed what I was saying. I saw other people were doing the exact same model that I was doing and succeeding, and I was showing them that same experience. But they didn't believe me. And it was because I lacked conviction in my words. Now, you probably heard that and went like, oh, I have conviction when I speak. I don't need to worry about that. But do you actually know what conviction looks like? Because there's so many different layers to it. There's the body language aspect, there's the level of emotion behind your speech, there's the actual words that you use. There's so many different parts of it, but do you actually know which parts to focus on? Because I remember when I was learning sales, I would go on mock sales calls, and the feedback I would get would be, you need to improve your conviction when you speak. And I would go like, okay, cool, yeah, no, I'll focus on my conviction. But I didn't actually know how to improve that. I thought that it just meant that you had to speak louder or speak with a little bit more energy when you spoke. But I didn't actually know the things that I needed to do to improve that. And if you don't know how to improve your conviction and make it seem like you actually believe what it is that you're saying, other people won't believe it either. Say we had two people and they're both trying to convince you to buy some kind of test preparation program or something like that. Say you were a college student, you're trying to buy that. And the first one, they come up to you and they say, or in the video recording, they say something like this. So the way that this works is basically we're gonna start by talking about habits that are holding you back, and then we're gonna go into habits that will help you, and then we're gonna do something that will basically help you to understand all of the material. And then we had the second one, and they went like, so what we're gonna do is go over the specific habits that you're doing when you're studying that are not helping you to actually learn the material. And then two, we're gonna go over proper study habits so that you understand what it is that you need to do. And then three, we're gonna go over the material so that you can get a better understanding of what you need to know for this exam and how to memorize it better. Now, they both said the exact same things. And yes, the first one was a little bit exaggerated, but they both get at the key reason why conviction is so important. Because the first one, even though they're saying the same things as the second one, you probably wouldn't buy from the first one. Even if both of them had the exact same level of expertise, exact same offer, exact same, just everything else, keeping everything else equal. You would buy from the second one because you actually would believe what this person is saying compared to this first one, because the first one is making a lot of the mistakes and habits that I'm going to be talking about later in this video. And it's not just as simple as going like, even though that's one part of it, it's not the full picture. So here I'm going to give you some specific steps that you can actually take to improve your conviction, and also show you specific habits that you probably have that are hurting your conviction and capping your income. The first thing is a bit more of a prerequisite, and it might seem a little bit obvious at first, but it's not actually that obvious. And it's that you actually need to believe what it is that you say. Now, you might hear that and go like, well, of course I do. I don't lie when I speak to people. And yeah, that's true, I believe you. The thing is, especially in higher stakes situations, it can be really easy for the words that we say to almost seem as if we don't believe what it is that we're actually saying, even if what we're saying is true and honest. Part of the reason why this happens is because you might have a belief in your head, especially in a higher stakes situation. Say it's the example of you trying to convince someone that you can do a service for them. And the thing is, that person might be a little bit more of a higher stakes person. Maybe they might be giving you more money if they say yes. And you have this belief in the back of your head where you're like, I might not actually be able to help this person, even if you actually can, even if that's true. So you might be pitching to them like, oh yeah, like I'll do this, this, and this for you. But you have that small belief in the back of your head, and it does influence you, even if it's at the back of your head, because you're afraid of failure. You're afraid of being wrong. It's okay to not want to fail. It's okay to not want to be wrong. But when you always have to be right 100% of the time, it makes you speak in a way that shields yourself from that failure by making it seem like you don't fully believe what you're saying so that you can cover your bases. So, if you go into one of these situations and you're, say, trying to pitch someone something, you're going to be a little bit less convicted. You're going to be a little bit less clear in your words in that situation because you don't want them to challenge you. The thing is with conviction, you need to have conviction whether you're right or wrong. Because whatever it is that you're saying, you need to believe that it's true. You can't have any half measures in the sense where you're like, I think it's true. You need to know what it is that you're saying is true and stand by it, whether you're right or wrong. And you need to not be emotional about being wrong in that situation. So, you need to believe with 100% certainty that you can help this person that you're trying to sell to. And then if you don't, stand by it and go like, you know what? I couldn't help you in that situation, and that's fine. Let me give you a refund. Or if you're trying to convince someone of something and you say this is 100% true, and then they actually give you factual evidence that what it is that you're saying isn't true, stand by it, own it, and go like, okay, I was wrong. When you have that level of integrity behind the words that you're saying, you'll believe what it is that you're saying a whole lot more, and you'll speak with way more conviction. Because if you don't have this when you're speaking, you could implement all of the other different things that I'm about to talk about here, and it wouldn't matter. Because you don't actually believe it. And if you don't believe it, people that you're speaking to won't believe it. It shows. 90% of communication is up here, not just here. If you fix this, you'll fix this. Now, beyond the mental aspect, how do you actually make it seem like you believe what it is that you're saying? And the first thing is that you need to have a little bit more passion behind what it is that you're saying. And no, this doesn't mean that you have to be over the top and really, really passionate about what it is that you're saying and moving a lot and sweating by the end of the conversation, because a lot of the time it's going to depend on the situation. Sometimes that might be called for. Other times you need to be a little bit more professional. So how do you show that belief? How do you show that passion? How do you show that conviction when you speak? And it's to have variability behind the way that you speak. So what does that actually mean? So many people, I see this a lot, for example, in the make money online space on YouTube especially, people will talk and they'll give you the information and it'll just be something like this. So this is the way that you create a 6-figure business per month. This is exactly what I did, and these are the words that I used. These are the tactics that I used, and it was like this. I did this. Speak monotone. And yes, you do need to be professional when you speak, but you're a hell of a lot less convincing when you're monotone, because there's no emotion behind your words. And of course, again, it's gonna depend on the situation, so use your best judgment here. But so many people speak as if it's just flat. And when you don't have emotion behind what it is that you're saying, you come off like a robot. And people don't buy from robots. If people wanted information from a robot, they can just go to ChatGPT. People are convinced by people. People buy from people. And odds are, throughout the rest of your life, you're not fully just monotone speaking like this all of the time. So I'm not saying that you have to be cracking jokes all of the time, but you need to have a little bit of variability in the way that you speak so that you can put emphasis on the parts that you really, really want to emphasize and say with meaning. So you see this a lot in the way that I speak. What I'll do is, if I really want to hammer in a point, I might speed up my words before it and then slow down so that you really understand what it is that I'm saying. And it makes those last few words have a hell of a lot more weight. That's how you can make people feel the impact behind your words and feel the conviction that you have. Another thing, play with the volume. So instead of just playing with the speed, play with the volume of your speech. So, for example, you could be talking really, really loud and then quiet down. You can combine it with the slowing down. And when you quiet down, it makes people really hone in on what it is that you're saying. And now, yes, this might seem like showmanship and over-the-top movements and everything like that. But having variability in your speech, one, it makes your speech more interesting to listen to. But two, it makes it so that people not just hear the words that you're saying, but they feel it. They feel each part of your sentence that you really want them to feel. There's differences in each word, in each phrase, in each sentence. And that emotion, that added passion behind each word that you say, it shows that you actually care about what it is that you're saying. Because when you speak monotone and you don't use any kind of variability in your speech, it sounds as if you don't care. And if you don't care, and if it seems like you don't care, even if you're really passionate about what it is that you're saying, but you just speak in monotone like this, people won't care either, no matter how much value that you're giving. And yes, you still can make money by speaking monotone. There's plenty of people that do it, but you could make so much more if it actually seemed like you cared about what it was that you're saying. Robots don't care about what they're saying, but leaders do, and people buy from leaders. So vary your speech and speak like a leader. What I'm explaining in this video is just a small piece of the puzzle for improving communication. So if you're an entrepreneur or content creator who wants to improve their speech so they can get more clients and earn more money, then click the top link in the description and I'll personally help you to overcome that. The next step that you need to take to be able to improve your conviction and break that cap that you have on your income is to stop muddying up your message. So what exactly does this mean? There's two types of muddying up that you can do with your messaging. The first one is phrases that diminish what it is that you're saying. So we'll get into what that is in a second, but the second one is filler words. And that's more of an obvious one, but I'm going to give you a specific tip that you can use to actually overcome that. So the first one, diminishing phrases. What does that actually mean? So say, for example, you were giving a speech and you made some really big point that is super value-packed, super important, and you know it's true. But you finish it with, I guess, or that's just my opinion, but, that is what it is. Or it worked for me, so, that's it, but I don't know, it might not work for you. You can try it or not if you want, I guess. Stuff like that. And yes, it seems small, but the reason why you're doing that is because you're trying to shield yourself from any kind of criticism that might come at you for saying what it is that you believe. And this ties back into that first point that I made about actually believing what it is that you're saying. If you believe that it's true, it shouldn't matter what other people think. Stand by it. And of course, if you're wrong, then stand by that too and go like, well, I'm wrong. But don't make it seem like you're wrong by rejecting yourself by saying a sentence like this or saying a phrase like this. Going like, I guess, or that's just my opinion. Or starting a sentence by going like, this might not be true, but, or I don't know for sure, but when you say stuff like this, it completely kills the conviction that you have. Because how can people believe you if you don't even seem like you believe what you're saying? It's just like what we were saying before. So when you cut out all of these phrases, things like, I guess, or that's just my opinion, or I don't want to, make it seem like this is the only way to do this, but so stuff like that. If you get rid of all of those things, you will be a lot more convicted in the words that you're saying because you're giving yourself room to be criticized. You're giving yourself room for people to say things that disagree with what it is that you're saying. And that's completely fine. That's a normal part of speaking with conviction. You have to open up avenues for people to disagree with you. If there's no room for people to disagree with you, you're saying nothing, essentially. Unless it's something that's an absolute true fact of the world. So people can disagree on anything, pretty much. But if you make it so that you're in this weird gray area where people can't really agree with you or disagree with you, you'll never be able to convince them of anything. If I was in this YouTube video and I was here talking about improving your conviction, and I said improving conviction is really important for being able to improve your income, kind of, I guess, I mean, there could be other things, but like this is one of the big things that is, kind of important for speech, maybe. I don't know, you might disagree with me, but imagine if I said that, you wouldn't still be here watching this. It wouldn't make any sense. So you have to make sure that you're cutting out these phrases that diminish what it is that you're trying to say, because I'm sure you have some kind of value that you're trying to say. If you believe it's valuable, the audience will too. Now, the second thing muddying up your message and killing your conviction is filler words. And yeah, this might seem a little bit more obvious, but it goes a little deeper than you think, because imagine it, guys, so basically, it's really important because it makes it so your message isn't as clear. Imagine if I was trying to talk like this the entire video. Yes, I could say the exact same things, but even in that exaggerated example, it seems as if I'm a lot more unsure about what it is that I'm saying because, well, what are the reasons why people use filler words? First is that you're unsure what to say next. Two, you're unsure about what it is that you're saying, so you're unsure if it's true or not. And then three, just habit. So all of these are signals that you're sending when you actually use a filler word. The thing is, the audience doesn't always know what that signal is supposed to be. So you might just not know what to say next, but to them, they might pick up on it as they don't know what they're talking about, or what they're saying isn't true. And it ends up making your message that much less clear. So how do you actually get rid of these? Because this is such a common thing that people do, and they try to get rid of it, but they don't know exactly how. And the first thing is you need to know what to replace it with, because you're always going to be making mistakes when you speak. The best speakers make mistakes. And just replace it with the pause, like I just did right there. When you don't know what to say, or when you're about to say or are, for whatever the reasons, just pause instead. And you'll seem, one, a lot more confident. Two, the pause also makes it seem like you're thinking about what it is that you're going to say, so it seems like whatever you're going to say is a lot smarter. And then three, it builds anticipation too. You can use a pause at the end of a sentence to make it seem as if it has more weight. So, if you pause instead of using ums and ahs, you know exactly what it is that you can replace those ums and ahs with, and it will become more habit in the future as you get used to doing it more. Now, the way to make this faster, instead of just trying once and then forgetting about this whole tactic and just still using ums and ahs and other words that you like to use as filler words a lot, is watching yourself on recording. Now, it can be scary at first because you're like, oh man, I hate the way that my voice sounds. I don't want to watch myself back on recording. It's awkward. But especially if you're someone who's a content creator, you probably gotta watch it back anyway. Or if you're someone who's gonna be selling someone something or trying to convince someone of something, well, other people see you anyway, so you might as well see what that looks like so that you can improve on it. So if you look at a recording of yourself speaking, so if you just recorded a 5-minute video of you talking off the cuff about some random topic, listen to how many times you go like, and you'll also probably pick up on other patterns too that you have that make your speech less clear. And when you're aware of them and aware of the times when you do it, then you can know when to cut it out. Again, I hope this was helpful, and if you want personalized help, click the top link in the description, and I'll personally help you to improve your speaking skills on a well-rounded level. Now, outside of that, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Click this right here to go and watch my last video, which is really helpful. And outside of that, hope you have a great rest of your day, and have a good one.